Welcome to the Fantasy Boardroom. As always, I am your host and fantasy CEO, Tycoon. So let's get down to business, baby. We have a great week 2 to look forward to, and after a tremendous week 1, we had a great Thursday night game, depending on a lot of people's perspective, but good day. So let's move in. It's week 2, props for you. We'll look at here are some of the popular fantasy takes, some of my personal takes, how they're looking after week 1, and then we're going to just go through some of my picks coming up for Sunday week 2, and make sure you also go join the Discord so that way you can keep up with any bets that get added following this show. So, early overreactions, though. We have to do the early overreactions. And so really what I'm going to do is just kind of go through some of my takes and some popular takes and say what's looking good, what's looking not so good, because, we have to, and what we can still say is to be determined. So early looking good, Jonathan Taylor, the 101, looking good. Good take, good choice. Justin Jefferson is wide receiver 1. Now you can also make the argument, maybe, hey, in PPR you're taking him 101 as well, but you have to feel fantastic about week 1 from Jonathan Taylor in particular, not knowing exactly what Matt Ryan's arrival might do to the offense, but all signs are pointing up for JT to continue to be the best running back in the NFL. And Justin Jefferson is working on taking over that top wide receiver throne. Saquon is a top 5 running back. That wasn't necessarily popular, but that was one of my takes, and I still might have been too low having him at 5. My God, what a week 1. I mean, they're going to ride Saquon into the ground. Dayball is going to use this guy. Think of Najee's volume, think of CMC's volume a couple of years ago. That's going to be Saquon this year. So as long as he can stay out there on the field, he can look forward to many more weeks like what we just saw. He will be the only shining light in an otherwise barren New York Giants offense. A.J. Brown is a top 8 wide receiver. Yes, we kept him there. Again, probably not the most popular take. I think he was hovering around 12-ish. What have you, but no, 8 after, the big 5. Then I had him after Tyreek, and I forget who I had at 7. But A.J. Brown, right there, top 8. And again, probably too low. I was a little worried about what the passing volume was going to look like, and still am to a degree in Philadelphia. That said, he's not going to produce every week like he just did. You're not going to get 25 plus PPR points every week, but you're going to get several of them. And I think probably a higher floor than some of us anticipated. So beautiful music already with Jalen Hurts. You love to see that chemistry pop off instantly. It's looking good. Fading CD Lamb. Now, I didn't fade him super hard. I kept him as a wide receiver 1, but not drafting him up at wide receiver 6-7 is looking like a genius move at this point. Now, obviously, the Dak injury plays a role in that, but he only got 2 of 11 targets to begin with. And I know they're playing Tampa, but still, I had my doubts about him being able to carry the load as a wide receiver 1, let alone one where Dak was going to be trying to get the ball to him, playing behind just a putrid offensive line. And that's what really played out there in the first week. So rough. It's going to be a rough year for Dallas. Sorry, guys. And by guys, I mean, you Dallas fans. And I know there's a couple that like to watch. So, sorry, man. Keeping Deontay Johnson as a wide receiver 1, top 12. That is also looking good. Mitch Trubisky be damned. We saw one of the most impressive catches we've seen in the last many years from Deontay this past Sunday. Still being heavily targeted. I want to say at 7-8 targets. So he will be the man. It's just that simple. He's going to keep getting looks because he's really the best player on the offense. It's not particularly close. Jeez, I cannot talk. Now, fading Najee was also something I did. To the chagrin of many. You just kind of saw all the signs that his volume was going to decrease. And since he was largely a volume play last year, not particularly efficient, and I know efficiency is not the stickiest, or efficiency stats are not the stickiest from year to year, but that said, still seeing it rely so much on how many touches he got, and particularly in the receiving game, we saw him not really be used that way. He only touched the ball to the tune of 26 yards total on Sunday. No touchdown, just just pretty rough. And now we know he's dealing with a Lisfranc type injury in his foot. Looks like he's going to be good to go for week 2, but still a foot injury for a running back, something to monitor and not something, again, that you're feeling particularly good about. Glad to not really have been able to have drafted any of Najee or CD at their cost. Too expensive, couldn't keep it up. Damn, was really hoping Claypool would dominate and bully guys from the slot and get volume, Rafi Baum says. Well, I mean, it's only been 1 week. That could still happen. Now, I'm not the biggest Claypool guy myself. That said, big slot, bully slot there. I still kind of like that idea, especially with Trubisky there at quarterback. So I still kind of hope we see that, just because, I don't tend to root against guys that aren't on my team's rivals. So, yeah, I would really like to see Claypool do something here. But I'm really just going to focus on Deontay as far as fantasy goes. It's just what it is. Now this is one that was a big divisive debate in fantasy. Well, not actually really between these two guys, just about the second guy. But saying Darrell Henderson was the Rams RB1. Now, a lot of people, we're believers in Akers. The thing is, and we talked about it, I think we talked about it with Kev, he's coming back from an Achilles injury, a torn Achilles. We know the history of these running backs. Literally 0 have ever come back to do anything of relevance in the NFL, at least from a fantasy perspective. I wasn't going to bank on Akers being the first, but the thing is, he also wasn't that good before the injury, so it was really strange. Henderson has shown that he's decent when he plays. He's not amazing, but he's good. And being picked after pick 100 was a fantastic move. He may end up being one of the best values throughout the season if he can stay healthy. Now, that's the thing, though. Henderson has not shown he can get through a season cleanly, so we'll see how that goes as well. But it doesn't matter. Even if he doesn't at this point at the cost, who cares? If you get 8 RB1 games out of him, that's insane and amazing, and you're probably going to. And we know that McVay likes to ride one guy. He's really heavy on just riding the one guy, so what I think it was 82% snap share that Henderson had in week 1 against the Bills. And he actually looked okay at times against a really tough Bills defense. I am very optimistic about him here in week 2. Better fire up Henderson in week 2 if you were one of the lucky people to draft him there, the 9th, 10th, 11th round. This is what you drafted him for the scenario. Get him in there, top 20 running back in week 2. What up to the best face, mustache, and it's not clean right now. It's okay, but I need to. I'm scruffy today. What can I say? It's Friday. I got to get used to moving the show now to Fridays. So this is gonna be a little bit of a learning curve, but that's all right. We'll get there. I'll start looking clean again. We'll get this mustache clean. We'll get this scruff gone. This is nonsense. We'll look sharp. That's the point. Now, we actually have 2 games for this next individual, this next take. Kelsey being first round worthy. I mean, after week 1, obviously. I think even after week 2, still, yes. 5 catches, 51 yards here in week 2 last night. And that's probably close to a floor game, if not a floor game. So PPR, still 10 points from your tight end, which with most other tight ends, you'd be thrilled to get into double digits. So, yeah. If that's the floor and his ceiling, is in the 20s, mid-20s, possibly, hit 30 points at some point this season, who knows? Yeah, Kelsey was first round worthy. Absolutely should have been taken in the first round, and he's going to prove to be one of the great values as well. I mean, if you were able to snap him mid-second, late second, I saw him fall into third in some drafts, just wild. Getting that edge tight end every week, fantastic job. One of the many reasons we say elite, TE, or nothing at all. Ooh, St. Evo, big friend. Friday works for him? Hell yeah, works for me too. I figure it should work better for everybody. Wednesday can be tough. People have lives, people are doing things. When I was growing up, church night for youth was on Wednesday, things like that. So, yeah, we all got things going on. But Friday, people looking to kick back, 7 o'clock Eastern. Hey, we're before SmackDown here on the West Coast for those wrestling fans or whoever. It's 10 o'clock over on the East Coast. You still got time. You're not going to bed quite yet here on a Friday. It figures to be a more universally appealing time. It gives us an extra couple of days to gather data and be ready. A lot less chance that this is going to be outdated here in 36 hours or so when we're approaching kickoff on Sunday. This is the way to go. Definitely the way to go. Should have been doing this all along. I'm an idiot. All right, last couple that I think are looking pretty good to start. MT still has it. Yes, he does. 2 touchdowns from Jameis there on Sunday, and they were gorgeous. Just beast catches. I mean, the guy's showing that he still has the hands, still has the route running ability, still has just that physical dominance that he can display. I mean, he's never been the fastest guy, but it doesn't need to be. He's going to get open. He's going to make the catch. He's going to score touchdowns. So, fantastic. Oh, we have a question. Yes, love it. Actually, before we answer, I'm going to finish the last take that's looking good, and then we'll go into the question, then we'll go into the bet. So, last one, Bateman season. Yes, I know, only 2 catches, but 59 yards and a touchdown. Weird Duvernay game. I don't think you're going to see that again. No, Bateman's here, baby. Oh, it's so good. I mean, did you see that catch? Did you see that touchdown? Rashad Bateman season, baby. Rashad Bateman. All right, now, Najee or Connor, rest of season. Shockingly, my preseason rankings won't reflect this. Connor. And I don't think it's even that hard of a decision. James Conner. I'm really terrified about Najee's foot. I'm not going to lie. I was already concerned about what his usage was going to look like this year, even beforehand. Now, with the foot just being a question mark, and yeah, the word Lisfranc is just instinctually frightening. So, Connor. Plus, the Cardinals stink. They're going to have to use Connor more. I mean, I still don't think he's going to approach anywhere near the 18 touchdowns or whatever he had last year, but even if he's still getting to 10, 11, 12, you'll be thrilled with that. So, yeah, Connor all day long because the Cardinals are going to need him. Yes, sir. It is beautiful. Thank you, Parker. All right, now we're going to get into the takes. Now, these are more me, not others, and it's actually really funny that you mentioned Connor. Looking bad. The first one on the list, fading James Conner. Looking bad. Yeah, I definitely was not going after him at cost. I passed on him. I may have him on one redraft team, and that is it. So, oops, I think that was a mistake. What can I say? The Cardinals are going to be rough. They're going to ride him. They're going to have to ride him because they don't really have a lot else. And I know people love Hollywood. I mean, I'm still kind of optimistic when Hop comes back. These other running backs, they got nothing. Kyler's not that good. Connor might be the best player in that offense right now, which is insane to say, until Hopkins comes back anyways. The other one, not looking so good after week 1, fading Michael Pittman. In redraft only. It's just getting expensive, but it looks like that may have been priced appropriately. What can I say? I was skeptical that Matt Ryan was some huge upgrade over Wentz, and as a matter of fact, I still am, at least as far as for fantasy purposes. I mean, he's a much better real-life QB, but that says more about Wentz than anything. Matt Ryan has not looked good for the last couple of years, and I understand there are a lot of other circumstances and contexts that surround that, but I just remain skeptical that he was going to be able to support a true wide receiver one. I mean, as much as I love Pittman, he is not Julio. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about a whole different class of player. I think a lot of quarterbacks could have played with Julio Jones and put up the seasons that Matt Ryan did. And I'm not going to lie, still actually a little worried about the season as a whole, but it is, again, kind of a situation where with Connor, Pittman, outside of Jonathan Taylor, is really what they have. I mean, they're going to have to throw him the ball. He's going to get 10-plus targets most weeks, and he's probably going to capitalize on more of those than I originally anticipated. I still don't think Matt Ryan is, again, some huge upgrade or anything over Carson Wentz, but yeah, this is good for Pittman. It's hard to deny even after just 1 week. It's one that I think after 1 week I'm willing to concede. Yeah, that was bad. Then we have a couple of other running backs. Aaron Jones. Well, first Carson Wentz. Yeah, that's how we all feel. Although, I mean, you got to admit, he had a hell of a game on Sunday. Although against Jacksonville, but I digress. So Aaron Jones. I had him ranked as RB7, and that is looking like it is not going to return value at all. Now, it's not that I don't expect his production to improve and expect his volume to increase. I absolutely expect both of those things to occur, and they will occur. But it seems somewhat clear that it's not going to be, the reception fest that I and several others expected. With Devontae Adams out of town, the big question has been, where are all these targets going to go? Lazard's going to come back this Sunday night in Chicago, so we'll get an idea of how this offense is going to run with the man listed as wide receiver 1 in the offense, at least on the depth chart. And we'll have to go from there. This may be a wait and see, but I think it's going to be extremely difficult for Jones to get to running back 7 overall. I think that was a bad take. I still won't fault anyone for going down that road, forgiving myself a little bit too, but yeah, that's not going to pay off. It's just that Dillon is going to be used more than I expected, and yeah, Jones is not going to get the receiving work that I thought. Pittman's got a great line, and you have to stop the run first, so that play action is going to work out well all year. Ryan can make those throws and reads. Of course, because of JT. Now, yeah, Ryan can make the throws and reads, but still aging and a small amount of doubt still about Pittman to still be that guy, but it looks like he, in fact, will be. It's weird, too, because he's a guy I've actually kind of reverse course a little bit. Coming out in Dynasty, I was getting him in the early second in drafts last year regularly. It was nice. It was great. But he almost or a couple years ago, I'm sorry. And then over the last couple of years, it almost feels like he's gotten too much hype. I know I became, below market on him and moved off him a bit. Just trying to take advantage of that value. And I think it still may be a good long-term play. But that said, it's weird when you have a guy that you're like, pounding the table for more than most people that you interact with. And then all of a sudden everybody loves him way more than you do. Strange. It's just a strange feeling. All right. And then the last take that I had that I think is looking very rough, and that is Zeke at running back 16. Also probably not going to happen. I mean, with that gone, I'm out on every single player in that offense. I want nothing to do with it. I want nothing to do with Lamb, Schultz, Zeke, Pollard, Rush. Just get rid of them. No need. And to be determined. And I think there's good reason to really not have a strong take on either of these guys after week 1. One is my man Trey Lance, of course. There's a lot of nonsense that's been talked about this week, none of which I will address. I will simply say the game was played on a horrible field. Up until the interception that was thrown by Lance, he was having a decent game considering it was his third start in his career. Pretty strong game, especially given the conditions. And then as they were trying to make the comeback, the rain just became untenable. There was really nothing. You couldn't move the ball. No one could. So we attempted to make that comeback attempt. He couldn't do anything because the field was really not playable. So there's really not much you can take out of this game. Frankly, it's just kind of a wash. It is what it is. This game here this Sunday, we're going to see more rain, but I mean, I think at most half an inch. It's nothing really to be concerned about. Can't be used as an excuse this upcoming Sunday. Playing against Seattle, it better be a good game from Lance, and I think it will be. So I still think Trey Lance will finish as a top 12 quarterback. Actually, I still think top 10 anyways, but I'm just going to say top 12 for the purposes of this. He rushed for 54 yards in week 1. That rushing is probably not going to slow down, particularly anytime soon. So it's going to give him still a decent floor. I think he finished with 9.5 points or fantasy points on Sunday, which, given if you watch the game, I mean, yeah, that's not a good amount, but considering you couldn't have much less movement on offense on that field, yeah, that wasn't bad. Yeah, you'll have to take that as like a true floor. I mean, shoot, what did Dak put up? 5? All right. And Travis Etienne as a top 12 running back. I'm still going to stick with that too. Why? Because he was one bad throw and one drop away from a 20-plus point performance. I mean, from a monster game. And you saw the burst. You saw the pop on tape when you watched him. It was glorious. It was fantastic. I mean, that drop was not glorious, but let's all remember DeAndre Swift. He dropped that pass week 1 of his first game, just right there at the goal line. Could have won the game. Happens. And look at him now. So, hang tight. Stay on the ship. It will be your guiding light. You're just believe. That's all I'm telling you. Where's Ted Lasso? Believe. Travis Etienne will be a top 12 back by season's end. I mean, relatively soon. He only had 4 carries, but he averaged, almost 12 yards a carry on those. He had 3 red zone targets. That is a huge number. Led all running backs in the NFL. Just remember that. He's a guy, and you can only expect his usage really to slowly increase. That's what I expect, and he's out there in most of those high leverage situations as well over Robinson. Robinson got, I think, 60 to 30 carries, which, whatever, that's fine. But we're not really into Travis Etienne for all those carries. And if he can pop off, the way he did, I think 46, 47 yards there with his 4 carries as it was, that's fine. We'll take that as, bit stuff. And we'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them my way, but we're going to get into props. Hell yeah, Etienne. If you know me, if you know anything, Swift and Etienne and Bateman, probably essentially my entire reputation rests on those players. 1 for 1 with Swift, so let's go Etienne, let's go Bateman. All right, now we're going to get into props, baby. Now, you play these at your sports book. You can play these on Prize Picks. Use code ROGUE if you're new and sign up. You can get a $100 deposit match, or up to $100 rather. Same thing on Underdog, code ROGUE. And Sleeper, refer-ff_Tycoon. You can go to my Twitter profile, find all the links, so you can come play with us. Now, we're going to get into the first pick. Nick Chubb over 81.5 yards. It was down to 80.5 on Sleeper earlier. I have not been able to check since work and getting on camera to see if that has changed. The man had 22 carries for 141 yards in week 1. He's got a very favorable matchup against the Jets. Now, they did hold up well against the Baltimore running backs, but it was Kenny Drake and Mike Davis. This is going to be a very different story when they're facing Cleveland with Chubb and Hunt. And they did surrender the 3rd most fantasy points against in 2021 to running backs, and they surrendered 1,930 yards on the ground. They get worked on the ground. So Cleveland is run heavy to begin with anyways. We already know that, especially with Brissett, as we saw in week 1. Chubb got his 22 carries, only playing on 53% of snaps. So let's just say knock that down to just around 20, slightly over 4 yards carry against the Jets. I think that's doable. Yeah. Kyle Pitts. I think this is an overreaction to the lack of actual yardage production in week 1 and only 2 receptions, but he's at 47.5 receiving yards. Now, it's a mediocre matchup on paper against the Rams, I'll admit, but I think they're going to be playing from behind, and the Rams are going to be quite angry after the loss to the Bills, and frankly, they're just a much better team as well. So the Falcons are going to have to be playing some catch-up. They're going to have to be putting the ball in the air. Mariota can only be running so much, although he'll probably just keep running anyways because he's Marcus Mariota. But Kyle Pitts did have 7 targets in week 1, only 2 receptions. And again, I think that's why you're seeing this depressed line. That should definitely improve in week 2. And again, I expect passing attempts to have to increase against the Rams as well. His 7 targets equated to a 21% target share, and 47.5 yards is just way too low if you're getting over 1 out of every 5 passes thrown your way. He also hit over this number in 11 out of 17 games in his rookie year. And I cannot imagine he's going to go under that twice in a row here to start here year 2. And honestly, part of that's just a bet on the player himself. He's too good for that to happen. And also, I want to give a shout out to our associate here, our friend there on the Discord, our lead betting analyst, Graham, for, excuse me, for steering me toward chubbing picks. Saw him playing those on a couple of sleeper cards, went to check some things out, namely what we just talked about, and I love both of those. Can't tell you enough. Those are great props. Mahomes did do us dirty last night. We had the over on his rushing yards. He did not have a single rush attempt. In the end, ended with -2 rushing yards on his kneel downs. So we're just going to move on because he always seems to crush the Chargers on the ground, but of course not last night, which is too bad because Eckler over 4.5 receptions was way too easy. And as was Kelsey under 7 receptions, but he was at 6.5 on sleeper, so I didn't play him there. It was a bummer. So I have to, we'll get to it later. But yeah, have to see how he does with what I paired him on underdog. Another one that we've got for this Sunday, Christian Kirk over 57.5 receiving yards. He had 12 targets in week 1, a 28.5% target share from Trevor Lawrence. He was paid heavily. I mean, I think we all saw that contract because we are all like, wow, what is that contract? And the other wide receiver talent in Jacksonville simply lacks. Evan Ingram is the tight end. I mean, Butterfingers. Marvin Jones is great, but he's, just that solid vet at this point. Blah, 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 blah. Kirk is the guy. He is going to continue to get heavy looks like this. I can't imagine that target share ever dipping below 25%. And now Indianapolis is their opponent this Sunday and is a better secondary, surely, than Washington is. But the number is just too low given the volume that he's going to get. He's still going to get another, 11, 12 targets at least. And Brandon Cooks just went 7 for 82 on him, with Davis Mills throwing him the rock. Where's the difference here? How is this going to be any different? So, 57.5 yards is far too low for Mr. Kirk. Make sure you jump on that. This is one that was kind of flabbergasting to me, and I cannot figure it out. And that is Cooper Kupp, 92.5 receiving yards over on Sleeper. He's only failed to reach that number twice with Stafford at quarterback. Atlanta is horrid. I don't care if they're going to have a big lead. Stafford's just going to keep throwing that ball to Kupp because that's just what he does. When I first found this, the line at Prize Picks was 100.5 yards, and underdog was 105.5 yards. So I jumped on that quickly. It was 93.5 on Sleeper, so it's actually gone down a yard. Prize Picks, I think, is now at 93.5, and just for curiosity's sake, we're going to go check underdog and see what Kupp currently sits at 98.5 on underdog. So for some reason, this keeps going down. Now, I hope I'm not falling victim to something similar as Mahomes. All the data pointed towards Patty absolutely getting 17 or more rushing yards last night. He had done it in 5 out of 6 previous matchups against the Chargers. Then that's the kind of matchup that he typically does run. Why is this the week that Cooper Kupp's prop is dropping like this, especially to a number that he always reaches and against a bad team? I don't know, but I'm going to take it as the layup that it appears to be based on, information. It's strange that it's being betted down against the Falcons. Very, very strange. And then Geno Smith. I think this might be part of it too. Rams trying to overemphasize getting A-Rob involved. I get that because we saw one of the games with Little Beckham Jr. But even then, even when they do that, they're still Stafford's still going to force a dozen targets or so to Kupp. You know it. I mean, okay, maybe Higbee and Skoranek, those guys, don't get their targets now. But whatever targets A-Rob gets are not going to be taken from Kupp. I am very confident in that. So that logic just really doesn't hit with me. And my last one here, get back in the lab tonight, so we'll see. But Geno Smith, under 208.5 passing yards. Now, this has risen. So, again, another one that's kind of gone the opposite way on me, strangely, but in my favor. it was up to 214 and a half yards on Sleeper last night. Geno Smith. He's only hit 209 yards one time with Seattle. He last went over 214 yards in a random spot start in 2015. I mean, we're talking 7 years ago. San Francisco allowed the 6th fewest passing yards last year in 2021. Now have an improved secondary. I would point to, I think, 122 yards that Justin Fields had. But again, you kind of have to disregard passing numbers in that particular game. Doesn't mean much. But there is an 84% chance of rain Sunday in Santa Clara. And while I don't think that's going to necessarily be an excuse for either quarterback or either team at all, because it's not going to be a significant amount of rain, they're still going to be playing with a little bit of a wet ball out there. You think that's not going to affect a handful of Geno throws? I think it could be slippery at times throwing that thing. So, but yeah, he hasn't hit that number in 7 years. And I understand there are a few of those years he didn't even see the field once. And there's only 7-8 starts in there. But still, he hasn't done it. He hasn't gotten there with this team. I expect kind of a hangover for the Seahawks as well, following a very emotional win over the robot Russell Wilson. Oh, what a weird... Yeah, that was... A sidebar. I'm a 49ers fan. I got to talk about this. I've hated Russell Wilson for years. Hated him. Hate the man. He's crushed my 49ers. And I admit that part of the reason I hate him is because, he hurt my team. And he's a good football player. And was great for a stretch there as well. But I also didn't like him because he always came across as, a lot of people like to say corny, cringe, whatever this. And to me, he just always came across as fake. I never really have bought Russell Wilson. Feels like a character. And the way the Seattle team, kind of reacted and played, and all this, banter that was about surrounding this game kind of makes me feel more validated feeling like that over the years, and not just sour grapes over, Russ always kicks our ass when we play him. And I went in thinking, this is weird. I'm going to be rooting for the Seahawks, or not the Seahawks. I'm going to be rooting for Russell Wilson in a game because, I can't root for the Seahawks. And I mean, kind of by the end of it, I kind of was rooting for the Seahawks. It was really weird. Because, now, during the game, fine, boo players. I did absolutely hate that the Seahawks crowd was booing Russell Wilson there in pregame when he came back. I mean, the man, as much as I hated him, made your franchise relevant. Literally by himself. It was him. Because of Russell Wilson, Seattle has a legitimate fan base, has had a team at any level of success because of Russell Wilson. I understand others have some share in that, Legion of Doom, Marshall Lynch, etc. But none of it happens without Russ. Russ is a top 3 player in Seattle franchise history. So just the absolute lack of gratitude on any level in class from the Seahawks or Seahawks fans rather, was kind of disappointing, but not surprising. With that said, by the end, I was actually kind of rooting for the Seahawks and rooting for Russ to lose too, because the guy is just so annoying. And the guy is absolutely a goofy. The guy's a character. He's not a person. I don't know what else to say about him. He's just strange. So I was kind of happy for the other Seahawks players. I had to deal with that guy in the locker room for years to come out on top there. Good for them. Now we're going to whip their ass here this Sunday. Buy into Trey Lance, bet against Geno, and enjoy the show. So that's going to wrap up picks. Again, make sure you please do join the Discord. Go to my Twitter profile, FF_Tycoon. There is a link to the Discord. That is the best way to stay current with not only my picks, but all of the Rogue Fantasy and Rogue Bets team. You want to. Well, let's pull it up. How did we do there in week 1? I want to say we had a very strong week 1 as a team. See, this is data I need to have at my fingertips, so I apologize to y'all. So we were 10-2 on Thursday Night Football, ended up 31-19 for week 1 overall. And it's going to continue to get better and better. But we had a very successful week 1. Look forward to what the team has for week 2 again. I'm 2-1 now for Thursday Night Football this week, so that's how I'm starting week 2. These are the 5 picks and probably more to come. Yeah, you're not going to want to miss them from me. You're not going to want to miss them from Bill. By the way, again, make sure you check out Betting with Bill over on the Fantasy Rogues YouTube. Please go sub to Fantasy Rogues YouTube. Bill is going to be coming at you every Thursday and Saturday with wonderful information. Dude's just sharp. What can I tell you? He's a very smart guy. The guy puts the work in on his bets. Make sure that you are checking him out. Also got Wardy and Fox and Nick over on the Discord. Graham has made his return. Week 2 is going to be fantastic. I didn't want to take it there. I'm trying to, keep it a little cleaner most of the time. But yeah, we are going to have a hell of a week 2. We want you to be part of it. Let's win together, huh? Again, if you can play straight at a sports book, I encourage you to do it that way. Anywhere that's an option. If you're in a state that does not have legal sports betting yet and you do need to use an app, again, go to my profile. You can find links to Prize Picks, Sleeper, and Underdog. Also here on our Discord. So actually just go to the Discord, click from there because the links will already be there. But if you're new to Prize Picks, you can get a deposit match up to $100 using our code ROGUE. On Underdog, same thing. Use our code ROGUE. You can get a deposit match up to $100. And on Sleeper, you can come over, and if you use my code refer-ff_Tycoon, you can get a $20 deposit match. And actually, a little secret there, it'll help you get 120 because right now, for the next week until the 23rd, so go in, make your initial deposit. Now you have to do it in this order, or you won't be able to get the extra $20. Use my code refer-ff_Tycoon. Just do 20, they'll match your 20, and then do a second deposit of $100 using the code KICKOFF22, and they will match your deposit up to $100. So you will be able to put in 120 and have 240 there at your disposal. 120 free dollars. It is fantastic. So please go and do that. Keep a lookout as well on the Discord and on my Twitter for Top Prop. It missed last night because of Mahomes, as Evo pointed out. Friggin' Mahomes. But we're going to continue to do that Thursday and for Sundays. You'll see another Top Prop card coming at you this weekend. And starting next week, I think we're going to get back into these Taco Tuesday picks. A little tougher because, they're not NFL, and we have been very focused on that. But I think this week I'll finally be able to take a look at whatever the tacos are and get you an appropriate one. And probably just pair that with the Thursday night pick. We'll have make sure you capitalize on the taco for the free one, so that way you could pair that with Austin Eckler and 4.5 receptions instead of stupid Patty Mahomes. And that's that. So, again, make sure you're following us in the other areas you can, following me. I look forward to continue to bring winners. Week 2, I'm very optimistic about, feeling very good about these 5 picks that we just went over. Again, thank you to Graham for steering me towards those first 2. Again, Nick Chubb, over 81.5 rushing yards. Geno Smith, under 214.5 passing yards. Christian Kirk, over 57.5 receiving yards. And Cooper Kupp, over 92.5 receiving yards. And those are all playable within a few yards of, I would say, Geno Smith playable down all the way to 208.5. Kyle Pitts playable up to 50.5. Christian Kirk playable up to 59.5. Cooper Kupp playable, I would say, up to 95.5. 94.5. My apologies. So take advantage of those. Pair them up. Go win on Underdog, Sleeper, Prize Picks, FanDuel, DraftKings. Do you? Oh, actually, you know what? Before we close, I have a couple minutes. We're a little more informal in these Friday boardrooms. That's also part of the reason I wanted to go this route. I mean, I know we've got the shtick here. And it's great. But we're going to, bring down the formality a little. I did all right with the 3 guys I noted as values in DFS last week. So here's what I noticed this week. Trey Lance, 5,700 versus Seattle, I think is a good value at quarterback. I did have Hendo versus Atlanta at 5,700, but I think you need to rethink that one. He's just going to be really chalky. He's going to be a heavily used player. So in cash, I think he's all right to play. So I would say you can maybe pivot to Travis Etienne at 5,600. Christian Kirk versus Indianapolis, 5,700. Correlated, obviously, with the prop. Hayden Hurst versus Dallas at 3,600 for a value tight end, and the Bengals defense and special teams versus Dallas at 2,200, one of the cheapest on the board. I like their chances against Cooper Rush. What can I say? I know Cooper did well against Minnesota last year, but the Bengals defense is not the Vikings. So, yeah, those are the values I have there for DFS. But take those all with a grain of salt. I am not a huge DFS expert. This is what I noted. I figured I'd throw them out there since week one went all right in that regard. So get those props in, get those lineups set. You can reach out to me at any time. Best way is through the Discord, and we will help you win. So with that, this meeting of the Fantasy Boardroom is adjourned. Let's win together.